in villages in India go in the fields rather than use a toilet or a latrine. That's bigger than the population of the United States. If
RJ. Air India flight returns after clogged up toilets. Fair use.
Air India flight has been diverted after 11 of the plane's 12 toilets became clogged. Air India flight 126 here on Wednesday, bound for New Delhi in the 777-300ER, a flight that typically takes around 14 hours, but this time it would be cut short. At 5 hours into the journey, the 300 people on board had become limited to using only one toilet, which happened to be in business class. The 11 others were completely clogged and unusable. Air India began investigating what went wrong after the plane landed back in Chicago 10 hours after takeoff and found that, quote, bags, rags, and articles of clothing had been flushed, which, dare I say, sounds intentional.
I didn't think that would be the cause. I thought they just used water off the rivers and that clogged the airplane.
Well, there are other stories, but this is not related to this story.
Okay.
Fair use.
When I was a flight attendant for Qatar Airways, having to deal with those flights to India and dealing with really unhygienic people. Oh my god. Why would you defecate on the fucking bathroom floor instead of using the fucking toilet to take a shit? It's a fucking full flight on a Boeing 777 and then you want us to clean up your shit because you don't know how to use the toilet. Some of them, they don't know how to use the Western toilets, so they just shit on the floor.
Wait. You're saying that those flights to India,
Yeah.
that everyone has to know that Mark used to be a flight attendant for some of the biggest airlines in the world.
That's right. I went
Yeah,
off on a
most
tangent.
lavish, right? Can you say the
Yeah.
names of them?
Qatar Airways and Virgin Australia.
Okay, and you did it for many years too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you're saying that those flights, some of those flights that went to India, you're saying that some people on those passenger flights pull their pants down
And
in the
take a
toilet.
shit on the toilet floor. And then we have to put on those plastic gloves and pick up that shit and clean it because it's a fucking full flight. It's the trauma that I experienced when I was a flight attendant for Qatar Airways, having to deal with those flights to India.
this circle represents all of the open defecation that happens in the world. This is the fraction that happens in India. And
Jeez.
this is the fraction that happens only in rural India. 65% of rural Indians defecate in the open. So what that means is that most of the open defecation that happens in the world happens in rural India, and most rural Indians defecate in the open. Every day, 500 million people in villages in India go in the fields rather than use a toilet or a latrine. That's bigger than the population of the United States.
RJ. Let's talk about the clogged up toilets. Why would they clog up a toilet? Or maybe you give me your opinion about
I don't
this whole
know. I think
situation.
that's sabotage. If you're gonna put clothes in it, it's sabotage. Maybe they thought there were a lot of people from rural India there, and they defecated on the floor and washed their hands in the toilet.
Guys, let us know what you think. This is going crazy. No, this is crazy.
I know,
Bro,
but
this is crazy.
all jokes aside, that just sounds like it's
That's crazy.
it's
Well,
sabotage.
to be honest,
It's sabotage.
I don't know if this is sabotage. Maybe that whole plane had a lot of people from rural India that don't know how toilets work on 12 is a lot, though. It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot. Hey, guys, good luck if you're flying with Air India, or you're flying to India, or you're in rural India, or whether you're a flight attendant. My heart is with you. Thank you for your service. Last one for today. Ex-NBA player and billionaire Junior Bridgman passes away. Let's take a look. Fair use.
Here's a guy that I think the most he made was with $300,000 in his career, and he's an owner. So think about that kid growing up, wanting to be an NBA player. It was probably his dream, and he turned that dream into being an NBA owner. And if that's not what every kid should aspire to do, I was even reflecting on my career, as a coach, and I won titles, I've topped, and all that stuff. And you should really want to be like Junior. I mean, when you think about it, he is the exact model that the league should use every day when they're talking to our young players. So.
Fair use.
We started off like most companies at that time. If you're black and you're going to get involved, they're going to put you in the black area town. And so it was no different. We started in Milwaukee because I spent all those years there with 5 stores in the inner city of Milwaukee. And they were not very good restaurants, but I figured if we worked at it, you could turn things around. And I'll tell you, the average volume of those 5 restaurants was only $600,000 a year. And you're not making any money at that volume. Today, those restaurants, and my son runs them, so we still have a lot of them, but they do over $2 million in sales. And how do you do that? By getting involved with the people and letting people know that you care about them. Now, how do you do that? Back at that time in Milwaukee, if you got stopped for any traffic violation, they took you to jail. It was a crazy law that I'm glad they've changed, but where was all of our people at? They were in jail. So we were bailing people out every day, and I could take you through other things that we did to help show people that we cared about them. And once they realized that we cared about them, then they cared about the business, and they cared about us, and we grew. And as we grew and added more stores, we were able to promote people from a general manager to a district manager to an area operations person. And after a while, we had a whole lot of people making over $100,000 a year. And you would say, how did that happen? And it was in what I would call a real American dream. You could come go to work if you had just natural common sense and you're willing to work hard, you could make a good living for yourself.
Yeah, man, we covered this story also a while ago as one of the, let's call it NBA players that had a come up. NBA players that didn't make as much as, let's say, the big names these days, but were able to amass a fortune outside of the court. He was one of the guys we covered. RJ.
Yeah,
I thought it was a good thing to talk about it because
definitely.
he passed
We've covered
away.
He's an example of how to successfully transition from a professional career to a business career. When you see him sitting there, you see a businessman. And that's basically, you can say that's his second profession. But he embraces it. He does it well. He did it well. He is not a name that you will hear people say when they talk about the best NBA players ever in the world. But it just goes to show you as well that you don't have to be the best NBA player in the world or the best anything right now in order to be very successful in the future. he surpassed a lot of his peers in terms of wealth, and I like hearing these types of stories. I think, KR, we always talk about, say, the black community, not only in the US, but like all over in the West. Let's just say the West right now, because the US black community, the US black culture has a lot of influence all over the world. So much so that so if you go to Europe, you will see black influence there, African American influence there, culture, the style, the way of thinking, slang. So, but I think, and we've talked about it, the music that's being pushed out, so the negative is being pushed out more than a positive. That's why I do think, and I know Earn Your Leisure has been catching a lot of flack, but whether you agree or disagree in everything, it's never either or, right? There's always that's why I like the yin yang symbol, right? You have white and you have black, and then you have the black and white and the white and black. Dr. Umar wouldn't approve, but if it turns in terms of, and you can make it out to be like the black, the white, it's not necessarily the good and the bad, but also like the positive and negative, masculine and feminine, but it's just to show that it's never absolute. So, and I like there have been some very powerful interviews. Some people I like hearing from, or hearing talk, he was definitely one of them. I like hearing there's also, I forgot his name, the investor in New York, the biggest, I think they have the biggest residential, they have the most residential houses, I believe, on the
BlackRock?
No, not BlackRock. Not BlackRock. It's a name. It's a black investor. Real estate. New York. When I see him, I will know. But in any case, I think we should hear more of these stories. You know how you can get money just doing average things, boring things. I like to see how people get money doing boring things. It just goes to show you that you don't really need to be so out of the box. But it starts with the customer. Go talk to people. That's what he talks about. So I think he has meant a lot for a lot of people around him. He's meant a lot for the league. He's been influential for a lot of people like myself who've never met him, but are or have been positively influenced by him. So wishing his family, his friends, his loved ones a lot of strength during these times. And he's lived an inspirational life. And when I die, I want to be able to, that's what I would want. That's something I would want. People would say, this person has been inspiring, not because of what he said, but because of what he did.